welcome to Victory News. It's Friday, February the 14th, 2025. Happy Valentine's Day. You still have time, guys. I'm Greg Stevens, along with Mike Garofalo. Fiora Hernandez and Tim Fox are both on assignment. These are the stories that we're watching for you right now. After 3 weeks in office and 64 executive orders, Americans rate President Trump's performance. Ahead, we'll talk with the Federalist senior editor, John Davidson, about Trump's approval ratings. And President Trump announces a new round of reciprocal tariffs. We'll ask Judicial Watch Director of Investigations and Research, Chris Farrell, how Trump is changing international relations. But first, the headlines. Donald Trump unveiled his plan to shift how the United States deals with tariffs on imports instead of charging significantly less than other countries do. The president said going forward, the United States will match what other countries are charging for imports from the United States.
Are prices going to go up short-term, long-term?
Not necessarily. I mean, not necessarily. But I'll tell you what will go up is jobs. The jobs will go up tremendously. We're going to have great jobs for everybody. This is something that should have been done many years ago. China did it. I mean, China did it at a level that probably nobody's ever seen before. If you manufactured a car, you couldn't send it into China. The tariff was so high. So everybody went and they built in China. It was no big secret.
The president said ultimately American consumers will see prices go down. Robert F. Kennedy Jr. was confirmed and sworn in Thursday by Supreme Court Justice Neil Gorsuch as the United States 26th Health and Human Services Secretary. As expected, the 52-48 vote had no Democrat support, and former Senate Republican leader Kentucky's Mitch McConnell was the lone Republican vote against Kennedy.
For 20 years, I've gotten up every morning on my knees and prayed that God would put me in a position where I can end the childhood chronic disease epidemic in this country. On August 23rd of last year, God sent me President Trump.
Then Kennedy added this.
President Trump has promised that he's going to restore America's strength. But we can't be a strong nation if we have a weak citizenry. If people are sick, 60% of our people are sick, 77%, as President Trump mentioned, of our children cannot qualify for military service. And we need a man on a white horse now. We need somebody who is willing to come in and has the spine and the guts and the strength to challenge orthodoxies, to stand in the way of vested interests, and to break institutions that have turned against our democracy.
Kennedy then said the first time he was in the Oval Office was in 1962 with his uncle, then President John F. Kennedy. President Trump's nominee for Secretary of Education, Linda McMahon, was on Capitol Hill on Thursday. She faced scrutiny from senators over plans to give states and parents more control over education.
Long before there was a Department of Education, we fulfilled the programs of our educational system. Are there other areas, other agencies where parts of the Department of Education could better serve our students and our parents on the local level? And I am really all for the president's mission, which is to return education to the states. I believe, as he does, that the best education is closest to the child.
But Democrats seemed more worried about efforts to uncover fraud and wasteful spending than the education of American youth.
Elon Musk's DOJ staffers have reportedly set up camp at the Department of Education. They've already been given access to highly sensitive student data and have already started holding back money that Congress decided on a bipartisan basis was needed to help our schools and students. We're also hearing, as you know, about an executive order coming any day that will seek to dismantle the Department of Education.
President Trump is expected to ask Congress for help in dismantling the Department of Education and returning control to the states. Veterans Affairs employees and Democratic lawmakers protested Thursday outside VA headquarters in Washington, D.C. The demonstrators were rallying against potential staff and funding cuts at the VA, accusing the Trump administration of endangering veteran services. The event followed multiple federal office closures as part of Trump's administration's reduction efforts, with concerns about Elon Musk's Department of Government Efficiency, including VA operations. VA Secretary Doug Collins denied plans to cut veterans' benefits, but acknowledged ongoing efficiency reforms. Protesters demanded guarantees that staffing would not be reduced and that Musk would not have access to veterans' data or funding. The debate highlights growing tensions over the future of the VA's services. Mike?
Greg, Donald Trump's new attorney general is taking on New York and its immigration crisis.
New York has chosen to prioritize illegal aliens over American citizens. It stops today.
The Trump administration is suing New York Governor Kathy Hochul and Attorney General Letitia James over the state's green light laws, which allow undocumented immigrants to obtain driver's licenses and restrict federal access to DMV records. Attorney General Pam Bondi announced the lawsuit on Wednesday, accusing New York of prioritizing illegal immigrants over citizens, American citizens, and warning other states to comply with federal law. Governor Hochul dismissed the lawsuit as worthless and defended New York's policies welcoming immigration officials to access DMV records with a warrant. The U.S. Attorney for Manhattan resigned on Thursday after refusing to follow an order from the Department of Justice and drop corruption charges against New York City Mayor Eric Adams, according to the Associated Press. In an 8-page email, Danielle Sassoon told Attorney General Pam Bondi that she doesn't agree with the reasons for dismissal and was confident that Adams had committed the crimes. In a letter accepting Sassoon's resignation, Emil Beauvais, the acting deputy attorney general, said that the Justice Department in Washington would file the motion to drop the charges and ban the further targeting of a Democrat mayor. Mayor Adams, who was indicted on federal fraud, bribery, and campaign finance charges, claimed that the case was entirely false, based on lies, and was brought in response to his criticism of the Biden administration's handling of the crisis at the southern border. The acting director of National Institutes of Health during the COVID-19 pandemic has abruptly resigned. Dr. Lawrence Tabak was the #2 in command at NIH and served a quarter century there. Dr. Tabak announced his resignation in an email to the staff. Tabak's resignation comes amid a shakeup within the Department of Health and Human Services, the NIH's parent agency. Typically, Tabak would have been promoted to the acting director under Trump's nominee, until that is, Trump's nominee was confirmed. However, Dr. Matthew Mamoli, a former top medical researcher and noted critic of COVID vaccine mandates, received that acting position. Greg.
India's prime minister met with President Trump at the White House on Thursday afternoon with the goal of improving U.S.-India relations and negotiating fairer trade terms.
We've just started up again, and we have, I think, some very big things to talk about. Number one is they're going to be purchasing a lot of our oil and gas. We have more oil and gas than any other country in the world by far, and they need it and we have it. And we're going to talk about trade. We're going to talk about many things, but it's really an honor to see you, and you have been my friend for a long time, and congratulations on having done a great job.
Thank you.
Prime Minister Modi is seeking closer ties with the United States to maintain India's strategic importance. Joining us now is the author and director of investigations and research for Judicial Watch, Chris Farrell. Chris, welcome back to Victory News.
Great to be with you, Greg. Thank you.
All right, you just saw that Trump met with the Prime Minister of India. Now, that was on the heels of every Canadian provincial premier visiting the White House yesterday to ask the administration to drop the new tariffs Donald Trump imposed. So after their visit, the president, well, he said this.
So I think Canada is going to be a very serious contender to be our 51st state.
Going with Canada, there was obviously a delay in implementing those tariffs.
I spoke to Governor Trudeau on numerous occasions, and we'll see what happens.
Governor Trudeau. Chris, it's hard to tell if Trump is just trolling the prime minister or if he really believes the nation should come together. What's your take?
I think it's both. I think he loathes Trudeau. He has very little regard for him, and with good reason. And then secondly, he looks at the relationship that we have with Canada, the amount of money we send up there subsidizing their economy. They're an incredible asset. I mean, there would be a great benefit as far as people who hold the same traditions as we do, the same values. And also they have incredible natural resources. There is a natural alliance there. And so I think the president looks at it and says, well, why not? Why shouldn't we do it? And I think it's kind of tough to come up with a long list of reasons why we should be in an adversarial position with the Canadians. And perhaps his dream of a 51st state could come about.
Well, time will tell, won't it? It's fun to watch, though. This week, we heard Representative Summer Lee call for the federal government to pay reparations. Listen to this.
Our government, no matter who is in power, has an obligation to right these wrongs, to provide reparations for descendants of enslaved Africans, to eliminate the racial wealth gap, to uplift the Black community. White supremacy is rampant in this country.
Judicial Watch posted a video on how you and the Judicial Watch team are taking on woke reparations. Is Representative Lee's call an example of what you're battling?
It is. This is a fixation, really a distortion of sort of a reverse racism. It's a racialist point of view that really, it turns the legitimate racial divide or tension in the country into sort of a cartoonishly simplistic thing that has no foundation in reality. There's neither you nor I owe any other person financial recompense based on skin pigmentation. I mean, it has nothing to do with the current state of affairs in the United States.
All right, so Representative Ramirez joined other angry Democrats, this time outside the Department of Veterans Affairs, to attack DOJ and Elon Musk for revealing tax dollar waste. Here she is.
So let's make sure that unelected felon Musk, because you can't spell felon without Elon.
Ramirez claimed the work of DOJ is criminal, that President Trump care only about the loyalty and not accountability. Your response to that, Chris?
These are more baseless kind of street performances. Again, no foundation in reality, no foundation in the law. This is, pandering and hysteria and performance art appealing to the lowest IQ population out there that would believe a lot of this hollow, empty rhetoric.